right.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Agenda is adopted. Next is comments from the public. We don't have a sign-in sheet, but if anyone wants to come before us, we are putting a 2-minute limit on this because we have a lot of work to do tonight in terms of applications, but feel free to always reach out to us via email for more things. So, and if you mind coming up to the microphone, just so we can make sure the people watching online can hear.
State your name, please.
I'm Becky Thorne.
Are we all?
Yeah, she's got it. Battery.
Oh,
She's. Here you go.
there you go.
I'm Becky Thorne, and I came to the last ARP meeting, and it's great that we do have this ARP money coming in for different things. I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of the small businesses that knew nothing about this the last time. And I got my brain rolling here and thinking about, would it be possible? I know people that have businesses that do not buy a newspaper and do not get on social media. Those are no other way they can find out except word of mouth. Would it be possible to get a list of all the small businesses in this county and send them a postcard and tell them this money is available? Once your application is filled out, would that be possible?
Yeah, the Small Business Development Center, we have one that covers us. They have a listing of every small business by county, so we can obtain a list of all.
I think it would be a good idea because, like I say, my boss. He don't get on social media and he does not read the newspaper. He's too busy working. But I mean, people need to know. And another thing too is, please consider the churches that have picnics and fundraisers, because I know at the ENR church this year, they have canceled the salad luncheon, the Ladies Guild has, and the street fair was canceled, and all that money goes to charity. So please consider them when you do this, and not just the ENR church, all of the churches. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I think, Aaron, did you put together a list of small businesses anyway before? Although we get
What
it
if
from
the
the
Chamber
state.
of Commerce could do that for us?
Well,
Yeah.
you would
They
think
could
they're
do the
all,
mailing.
yeah, and they have to be registered too, they have to have a business ID and all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
they're registered with the state, so we should be able to come up with a full listing of what those are pretty easily.
When
I
we
think.
applied for the last Okra thing, we had several that we had a survey and had communicated with several people, so we had email addresses for a lot of them.
I can't hear anything, I'm sorry, but it's hard to hear with everybody.
Yeah.
We have a list of businesses that we communicated with when we applied for an Okra grant, and we have email addresses for several of them, so we could try different routes too.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a cheaper way of doing it than a postcard, that's great, but if we don't, send them a postcard, because it can't be that much to do that. Can't be that much well.
We can get a list of business entities,
Yeah,
and they should have contact information there, email address or whatever.
yeah.
Because I do know small businesses that owners that I spoke to, I told them about the ARP money that's coming in the fall here. And I said, did you apply in the spring? And they said, what are you talking about? They didn't know.
All righty.
I just had to ask a question. You said we, who do you mean we? Are you representing a company you work for or something?
Yes, JR,
Okay.
the Perry County Development Corporation worked on the Okra grant and
Okay. 'Cause
collaboration with.
I didn't think you mentioned it at the last meeting, so thank you.
Anyone else? Celia. 2 minutes.
Yes, dear. Celia Farron. I'm here on behalf of the substance abuse and mental health money that's possibly coming. Recovering addict, alcoholic. I write for the news. I write a recovery column. I'm really involved in anything recovery. Working diligently to begin to talk about and to see if we can build and maintain a sober living house in Tell City. I have given Mr. Barrowmeister a copy of my New Beginnings. It does not talk about money. It talks about just the skeleton of a structure, and where we would begin, what would be required, what would be basically mandates that would have to be in place. So it's a skeleton in which to begin. I don't know what the amount of money is for the substance abuse and mental health for this particular fund, but it is a passion of mine. I think Tell City needs something. I talked about the QC 360 program that's going on now at the jail. That is a good transition into sober living. I think we have a lot of addicts and alcoholics in this town that need help. And I think for me and a lot of others, a sober living house would be a really good first step. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to concur with you. Thank you for bringing it up.
Anyone else before we close public comments? All righty. Oh, Jim, are you coming up here? Okay. All right, we'll move on. Application for assistance samples. Who wants to take over?
I mean, basically Tara and I've worked together, and I'm gonna say that, I was probably 10% of this effort. Tara was awesome at this. She basically typed them all up and everything else after we met and kind of, wrote them out a little bit. So, they've been given to you via email. I don't know if you've had a chance to look over them. There's 4 different ones, depending on the route they take. We also have this Hamilton County one that basically kind of lumps them together, which is another way of doing it as well. Like we said, though, if we go this route or this route, it probably would be one link. They would just kind of pick their route if they wanted to go. So just keep that in mind, whether you go this route or this route, it's still going to be one link.
So it would be changed over to, say, organizations in Perry County instead of Hamilton?
Yeah, this is just a sample from theirs.
Okay.
The next 4 after that
Okay.
are the ones that Tara typed up for us.
Okay.
So,
And anything that's highlighted obviously needs to be,
Questions.
questions. One of the considerations, so there's 4 of them, there was to address, and I took this based off of what I heard from the public and here and what's available and what we're allowed to do. My question was, I mean, we have one for nonprofits, small businesses, the public health sector, I believe, or public health support, and then also local entities like if Cannleton or Troy or somebody like that. But my question, like for you, say for substance abuse, for public health concern, is that something that a nonprofit should actually apply for to help them do that versus the county? Do we want all these applications out there? Because I want to make sure we're properly vetting all applications, addressing everybody, make sure everybody's aware, we don't leave anybody out. So I'm wondering if that's something those nonprofits that are specific to that, and I think there was a gentleman that talked about it in the last meeting, say like for housing or whatever. If that's something, if they apply for funds that they can then create, I don't know if it's a refunding or regranting. It's just something I was thinking about.
and that was one question I had. Can it be regranted? Is that allowed? I tried to look today and I ran out of time because that was something that I thought about when we went down that path.
Yeah.
About, can we actually regrant? Can
Because they're also they're more apt to reach, they know who to reach, how to reach them. They may even have a database already. I'm just afraid, I don't want anybody to get left out. I don't want, like, small businesses, they didn't know about any of this. So I just want to make sure the right agency is assisting those that need the help.
Well, I have no complaints against that. What I was saying is I didn't know if legally
Yeah,
the ARP
and that's
needs to be given to somebody and then
Right.
they be granted. I didn't know if that's
That's
what or not.
That's a great
Like an
question.
example would be if the Chamber of Commerce
Yeah.
applied for a grant.
For small
to-
business.
To
Right.
re-grant. Have you had any insight on that, Lou?
No, I haven't. Because, I mean, the county is, when you have a sub-grantee to a sub-grantee, it's a question.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and as, I would think, as long as they fall under the same criteria as everybody else, but,
I don't think I've seen that in the treasury guidance yet.
I still have it, and I don't know, is final rule out?
No, it's still interim.
Okay.
And one way around it, even if it is like, and maybe this is not a right thing to do, but I'll say it anyway, is you don't necessarily grant the money to the Chamber of Commerce, but you basically have the Chamber of Commerce run that application process, and when you come
Yes.
back to us with that recommendation.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that
That's
might be
another
the
way of
safer route
doing
to
it
go,
without
yeah.
granting them the money and then having them re-grant it, you know?
So here's the other consideration I have. You know, the auditor's office is already taking care of things, and budget's coming around and everything else. So with all these applications and who's getting funding, that's gonna put a great burden on them as well. So that's why I was wondering if we have these other agencies to help. I just wanna make sure we don't leave anybody out.
Yeah, I know we can use the money to hire someone
Yeah.
to do this for us.
Administrative.
Yeah.
We can not use it for administrative purposes.
Mhm.
That's also, I guess, something to consider.
Do you want me to say
Well,
something?
Tara, I think, I emailed you back.
Yes.
Regarding the one unit. I would have no problem with them overseeing it as long as we're not giving them the money to distribute out.
Yeah, and I think I put it in one of the applications for, if it is for substance, like if it's for mental health, if they require office visits or something like that, it would need to go to that facility, not to the person, to make sure that they are following up on what they are supposed to do. And that's the other thing, is that the county's responsibility to provide that oversight? It's very, you know.
Because we talked about if we grant someone money,
Mhm.
how do we later then know?
That they did it.
Plus, what is the benefit that actually came from it?
Right.
Because we're going to be kind of held accountable of what happens
Exactly.
with the money. So it's one of those questions too, is,
We
Should
will
there
have to
be a
have that.
post-application?
We'll have to.
oh
have
yeah,
that
there's a
from
post,
them.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But
What
the
they-
question is who
If we
administrates
grant it
that?
to them, we'll have to have what they did with the money and how it impacted, and just like any other grant. right?
Totally agree, but I'm just saying that's another layer of administration that you're going to put on that.
Right.
That's it.
I don't know, and I guess that's a question to, the sub-grantee question
Mhm.
needs to be
County
asked.
attorney, no?
Probably
Probably
It's
needs
not.
to,
It's-
Well,
probably needs to be a question to the treasury.
It's more the treasury because they,
Or
they're getting the
NACO, or
funds.
some association, we need to ask that question, it's been asked somewhere else. So I can take care of that.
And that's just one route.
Mhm.
I do agree with you too, Luke, on the administration part. If we could hire someone, if there is someone out there that is possible to take care of it, or at least administrate it, we're still responsible, don't get me
Right.
wrong, I'm not trying to get rid of responsibility. But just the day-to-day part of it is
Yeah.
gonna be tremendous.
Put
It
the
is.
pages together. So do we want to just think about hiring an individual or an entity or?
I think that's something to consider. I just-
Yeah, it is.
Because no one in the county can do it. The auditor's office cannot do it. So,
Thank you.
we barely
Well-
survived one grant.
Well,
So-
and then the other thing, I'm wondering if this survey can predicate what these applications are gonna be. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes, it does.
Because what if we're going down a road that the need isn't as great as we thought, or
Or it's more focused. than what
yeah,
it-
because I think we really need to survey the public and find out truly what the needs are, make sure we're addressing them accordingly.
And as we address them, some things to think about, so let's just use your example, a sober living house.
Mhm.
Let's say 60% of the public says, we need a sober living house. Who's gonna step up and take charge of that?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Who's going to administer that and see that it happens and doesn't just happen for a couple years, but that it's sustainable?
Mhm.
And so it would have to be some non-for-profit organization that would step up
It's
and
been
be in charge
attempted
of it.
before.
And if they don't know it's a need,
Yeah.
someone might not step up, and who's gonna put the application in for it to begin
Mhm.
with?
And that was a big part of the applications that we put in there too, is that there has to be some sort of plan to sustain whatever they're doing, especially if it's a program. You know, it can't be just something that's one shot and done.
Well, and there's a
Because you-
section in there that says, is this conceptual, like for the
Yes.
planning stage? Is it in
Yeah.
development?
Yep.
Is it something that's being, currently funding or
Right.
whatever, so.
And is that part of our job? If the public comes back with whatever it be, whether it's sober living house or something else,
Mhm.
that we look for a not-for-profit that would be willing to step up and take charge of that? Because if that's what the public wants, then do we go out and ask, would anybody be willing to, or do we just say, well, nobody stepped up, so we're just gonna ignore it? I mean,
Mhm.
Right, it's a
I
good
think we
question.
have to reach out, Sherry.
And Tom?
yeah, I think we really do.
Once
We
we
can't
do
just-
know
appropriated funds from the county.
the facts
for mental
of
health.
what.
Do what?
We have appropriated
We have
funds
to
in the
start
county.
asking
Yes,
them
yes.
if-
We're in contract with Life Springs and,
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
So, they may be, as far as mental health, like, what we appropriated like $98,000.
It's something like that, yeah.
Yeah, next year's
so
105.
It may be part of their duties to
Mm-hmm,
oversee some of this in the mental health.
mm-hmm.
I have a question though. So, in Life Springs, yes, I talked at length with Barb because I heard she's like an expert at filling out grant forms. I'm not. But is there no model for counties in how the steps that you all have to take and how that all
No,
works? There's really not?
unfortunately
Okay.
there's not.
I thought you guys were gonna tell me how to do
No,
it.
we're walking blindly.
Okay, I can appreciate that.
I can honestly say, in my research and doing all, like, these applications, we are one and very few in southern Indiana that is even doing this process. We have some neighboring communities that they are not having, they have a task force, but they're not really publicly invited, and, I mean, it's just something where they're, okay, we're gonna put funds here.
Well, if I can add this in real quick,
Mhm.
I'm Celia Farron. I want to be, if someone needs to call and say, hey, you need to go talk to so-and-so, I am perfectly willing to do all that legwork.
Okay.
I am limited on my knowledge of local government, and I want to stay that way. It's not my big thing. But if I have to get involved, I will. So
Mhm.
please feel free to throw me out there. I will absolutely do the legwork.
So, thank you for that.
Luke, did you say we had a contact sheet or no? Do we have a contact sheet for the public who speaks, or no?
No, we just have their names.
Okay.
No, we didn't even ask their names for this one, but we know these two.
Okay,
We'll get all of them.
gotcha.
So, regarding just the application in general, is it separate or is it all one? And you like choose your own?
Choose your own path.
Okay.
I will say this, though, I think it's good that we did this work, and I mean, we basically scoured what other people were doing and put it together, is what we did.
Yeah.
And it's good that we did it. But Tara, I think you'll agree with me, it's almost a little premature to go too far with this until we
Do a survey,
do a survey.
yeah.
Or at least have an idea what the focus is.
So we know what those check boxes are gonna be on how to go to that next step.
Yeah. They're not far from what they need to be, but it'd be nice to know, is there a focus area or not? Because it's one of these things that we could spend, and I hate to say it this way, but you could spend 10 grand here, 10 grand there, 10 grand, all of it in 10 grand little increments,
Mm-hmm,
and you never see a large change. You know what I'm saying? So if there is a focus out there that could consume a larger portion of it, and actually you could see something good come out of it long-term, that's something that maybe you look at, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things, it's hard to say, well, I can't give a little bit to everybody.
yeah.
But sometimes giving a little bit to everybody, you don't accomplish what you want to do long-term either.
Sure.
So, but that's what I'm talking about when I say focus. Does
I
that make
wanna-
sense?
Yeah, and I want to see the change too, but some of it might be preventing change.
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to help a business to not shut down.
Exactly.
Once we start having all of our small businesses shut down, we're good, we're gone.
Or a nonprofit.
Or nonprofit,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
So it may just be preventing something like that.
Yeah. And I was just saying that you have to proportion it out, is what I'm saying. I wasn't saying leave those people out, I was just saying the bucket may be this big for them versus it was the whole pot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm just saying, how do you proportion it out with focus, on what you want to do and want to accomplish, so.
But like you said, we need to be guided by the
I
survey
think-
before we.
If we're gonna go ahead with the surveys, can we do the listening sessions also? Some people are so
Yeah.
intimidated by surveys, and then Luke and I were talking before the meeting, you know, with surveys, I'm a little hesitant to rely on surveys that are not done scientifically, which we don't have the capacity to do that, simply because, you know, David could fill out 200 of them if he wanted to, unless we put something in there where you have to identify yourself. I mean, we need to have some kind of control on it. I mean, Tom, you could go fill out 500 of them
Right.
tomorrow, and it looks like 500 people want this and they don't.
But I would think if you did a survey online, you would request an email address or whatever, at least for
Something.
follow-up, you know. And the other thing is too, most survey systems like Zoho or whatever actually record your IP address, so we know if you filled out 200 of them, and they're all gonna be from the same IP address. So you know that as well.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're good at making bots. How many here can make a bot? Okay, I mean, okay, nobody else, okay.
I got a question. Liz.
I know people who
Because
can.
because I look to see
Just sit
if-
next to you.
since this is being distributed from the Treasury Department, has anybody seen, I know it sounds silly, because I don't usually get on social media, but is there a website already started where if you look to see if it's possible that some other, are in the same boat we are at, and saying, hey, how do we reach out and how to,
I sent some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
we've got-
sent quite a few.
But you mean like examples from other counties and stuff?
well, no, and some kind of a consolidated website where somebody says, hey, go here, they're bringing information from 30 or 40 different sites.
Yeah, that's what this whole pad is.
That's what
Yeah.
that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're the one,
Well, me and Tara did a lot of
Okay, I'm
legwork.
joking about who's, whatever, but I'm saying, so you're creating actually the website that could be followed any place in the United States, correct?
Well, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
We're looking at the meat that would go into that website,
Okay.
okay?
So regarding the application, we're thinking we just need to wait until after a survey.
That's one man's opinion, there's 7 of us here.
I agree with you.
I agree.
I do too.
Okay. Alright, well then I guess we can go on to the next thing. Investment priority survey. So. I haven't shared this with everyone, but, put a little survey together, asking very few questions, but like, first question is, which of the following describes you? Ask them if they're a Perry County resident or a local employee, local business owner. Goes through a checklist, they can select all that apply, just kind of describes themselves, and then what sector they represent or work in. Just kind of see where they're coming from. And then the rest of the questions just say, please rank the objective as either high priority, moderate priority, or low priority, and answer the questions that follow. So the first one is, the objective is to support the public health response. Examples include, but are not limited to, efforts to prevent and mitigate COVID-19, COVID-19 treatment and medical services, enactment of behavioral and mental health services, etc. And so they would rank that objective, high, low, high, moderate, or low. And we'll ask them, we could ask them, why did they rank it this way? And then how should we go about fitting or meeting that objective? So it goes through each of the basic uses of the fund. So there's the public health response, addressing negative economic impacts of COVID-19, providing premium pay for essential workers, replacing public sector revenue loss, invest in sewer and water infrastructure, and then invest in broadband infrastructure. Those are the basic uses of the funds. So I just asked you to rate each use of the funds as high, medium, or low priority. And some follow-up questions.
Can I suggest one thing on surveys like that? A lot of times to make it more meaningful is the force to rank them in order, not just
And
high,
like-
medium, and low, because some people will just put high, 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 high. But
Yeah.
if you make them rank 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I've seen that in
Yeah.
places too. Yeah.
That tends to make them think a little bit more about it, because when they start moving them around, they're like, oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Is that a public survey?
Yeah.
Public survey.
Yeah.
In addition to the other survey we were just talking about?
That was an application we were just talking about
Gotcha.
before.
So we could have them rank them and then describe,
Yeah.
rank them in an order and then say why, or why did you rank it this way? And
Yeah.
how should we go about doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you put them in, have them rank them in order, it may simplify it.
That's true.
For people.
That actually will make it easier, yeah.
Yeah. Because the simpler we get it, I think, the more of a, more accurate it'll be, because we'll get more participating. If somebody reads a long, lengthy, complicated one, they're just,
Do you have
walk away.
examples in there of like what?
Yeah.
That, just to break it down for the public?
Yeah.
Yeah, descriptions of what each one of them means.
Right, like
Yeah.
examples of negative.
Not having it hold up if someone doesn't answer a certain question, they can't go on, I don't wanna do that
No, we don't
either,
need that
because
Right.
people
No,
will
no.
just quit then.
Yes.
Yeah, so like, I basically stole this from all the examples from NATO, like, so under addressing negative economic impacts, examples include, but are not limited to, assistance to households, small business, and nonprofit support, aid to impacted industries, et cetera. Like, those are possible uses. So, but yeah, we could force, I think forcing them to rank them first would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can put that together.
And even if they stop at that point, at least we have the ranking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Even if
That's
there's
true.
no
Right,
verbiage.
even if there's nothing else.
Right.
right.
Okay, we can put that together.
So do we need to figure out how we distribute, or do we need to figure the
I can
survey
put,
out
if
first?
you give me the hard copy or not a hard copy, sorry, if you just email that to me, I can put together a Zoho and then send it to the group here. And that we can be the testers or the beta group to test it, to make sure it works right and all that kind of stuff. And we can change it from there, so. I think distribution is the next piece though. How do we get them to go to the link?
You're gonna have the
So-
same
Same thing.
response, right?
Yeah, so if we skip to the next, item 5, creating a landing page on the county website, I think we should make a page on the county website for sure. That hosts all the information that we're gonna have. And then we ask all of our nonprofits and share it over social media. We can have the newspaper,
I was gonna say, can the newspaper help with this effort?
yeah, maybe a QR code, you
Yeah.
know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
For distribution purposes.
I did find something, it does say, it'll allow local governments to disperse funding with and through nonprofit partners.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Excellent.
that's not on the interim, I mean, this is basically, the Fund Neo took what's in the interim rule and summarized it, so we would need to make sure,
Clarify. Yeah, make sure.
cross-reference.
Are we gonna have a timeline for this survey when we plan on hopefully sending it out?
I mean, it only takes me a day to put it together for us to beta test, and then about a week for us to beta test. I mean, next meeting, we could probably push it if you wanted to, or even before.
Yeah, I'm
Or even
thinking
before.
before, because we need
Yeah.
to get a plan together.
I mean, if we can.
If we can approve it tonight, just the process, then we can do it as we go. So, I mean, less than week and a half, we could have it out.
Yeah.
That would be great.
So how would we distribute it then? I mean,
Well, I think we talked about paper, but creating a landing page, I think that's a great idea,
Yeah.
which we could have Anjan do that for us. Isn't he over on the website? Or
All right, Teresa, do you do the county website?
do you do it? Okay, that's cool. Even better, okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
then, like I said, we'll just put that link to that survey on that website, which is easy to do. But then Facebook, newspaper, what other avenues do we have?
I don't know if you wanna go old school, some little card or piece of paper or something sitting in things like county offices and
Mhm.
people come in and they
Do
would
that.
see it.
Yeah.
Simple
I don't know if businesses would put them in their
Yeah.
place, but at least in
yeah,
public places
If
like
we could put
City
them in-
Hall. and-
If restaurants would let us put them out, that'd be great,
Yeah.
because I don't know how much traffic the courthouse actually get. I mean, you get traffic, but not probably as much as if you had it like it.
Now,
you know,
maybe
different
even in
restaurants.
the water department, when people can
Yeah,
pay the
sure,
water bill,
sure.
anything like that.
Should've had it last Friday's football game.
There you go. We missed out, didn't we?
I would've got the 50%.
Get the schools to send them.
Mhm.
I don't know if we can or not. Remember if the school board could get involved in something like that? I don't think we could. I don't think we could send things home with kids or anything like
Well,
that.
I mean, they send out a little.
I don't think it was allowed. I really don't.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
Cary Central will do it. Health
They're very
Central
cautious of
will
that.
do it. We did like a child care survey and they texted it out while we were here. So that, I mean, I'm not saying we have to do it, I'm just thinking that reaches a whole nother,
Well, I think as many places as we can distribute,
Sure.
it little, I mean,
Library.
you know, you can
Yeah.
buy those little bitty business cards that you print yourself.
Yeah.
That would be easy for people to pick up and take, or a slip of paper or
but
something.
then we have to have a
They-
select point. Where's our?
Well, I mean.
No, no, it would just be,
even
it would just be a way to get, it just tells you how to get to the
Directs
site.
you to the website.
Yeah.
That's what it would be.
But
In
if some-
the library even.
Sure.
But
All
some
those
people
kinds of
don't have
places.
access to the website, I do think hard copies. Because like what we do, for my firm, we're doing a countywide survey right now. And one of the things we're doing is leaving it a hard copy, like in the auditor's office, at a library, and then at a couple of other places throughout the county.
But we could put that on the card. If you
Mhm.
want a hard copy, they're at the library, they're at the
Mhm.
courthouse,
Right.
they're whatever.
Right.
I like that.
I forgot about library, that's a good.
Just so that we don't have so many people
Gilliam's.
saying, well, I didn't know anything about it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean,
At the news office.
Wherever, yeah, I mean, if they're willing to house them.
I did read in the interim rule though, so like the Baker Tillys and all these financial advisors, they are coming up with their own summaries of what they feel is the best route for communities to take. And one thing that I've seen is they say, do not overcommit early to the second year of funding. So that's something we probably ought to keep in the back of our mind.
Okay.
So,
So,
go ahead.
I was just gonna put a process together. One, you're gonna email that to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that
So
gives.
will you do like the rank thing?
I'll
Will
do
you
the whole thing.
Rearrange it
Yeah.
to ranking?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll probably really manipulate it, to tell you the truth,
That's
just to make
fine.
it work, okay, and then we can change it from there. Two, I'll build the survey, and you do that tomorrow, right, or tonight, so that's tomorrow tonight. Give me to Wednesday, is that okay, next week, Wednesday?
Mhm, Absolutely.
And then, after that, what, a week for you guys to play with it and give feedback?
Yep.
So feedback, that's Wednesday next. And then, now the question is distribution, because while we're doing this, we can go ahead and start putting that stuff together. So what about cards? You know what I'm saying, like that or whatever. So, because someone has to do the legwork in doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it really needs to be anything fancy. It could just be little squares of just normal paper.
Yeah.
I'll put that together.
You
I'll
put
do
that
that.
together?
Mhm.
Okay. As soon as I get a link, I'll send it to you, because that link won't.
Yeah, so we'll
change.
need to talk to, or put Teresa on a webpage,
Okay.
so we can have a link to something. Well, are you gonna link to?
It'll have to be a perrycounty.in.gov / and then
Slash.
whatever you want to call
Gotcha.
it.
Mhm.
So we just wanna put the link to the survey, not the, or do we wanna link to the homepage where the survey will be located, or do you just wanna have the link to the survey?
I think
on
just a link to the survey on that landing spot with some
That's what
just
I-
words and descriptions of what it's all about and that kind of stuff too, which.
What about for, if we were to do these little cards to distribute?
QR2 code and written out.
Okay.
And then I
The
think,
link.
and then I think at least a couple places where it's hard copy. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for everybody, but.
I mean, do we want to identify like the major points that should be on this landing page?
Yeah,
Yes, that'd be great.
I've put some, actually, it's not on my lap, I've got that at home. I've
Okay.
kind of already, so I'll send that out to everyone to look over.
Okay.
And just lists the basic uses and where it comes from, and, but I think that is important to have on there, for sure.
But it needs to be pretty concise. It needs to be
Yes.
like one page kind of thing, just like it's there, right?
Yeah.
You can link to other things if you want, but
Yeah.
very concise.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree.
And so then, when would we have the last day for the survey to be completed?
Good question.
Uh,
So what's
I mean, how long?
Wednesday next? What's Wednesday next?
I think-
1st of September.
Probably.
Next Wednesday, next Wednesday
Is
is
the
the
1st.
1st, and then the 8th is Wednesday next.
So, okay, so after the 8th, how long do we want to give?
I'd say probably no more than 4 weeks.
We'll be meet, unless we change our meeting time, we'll be meeting again on the 23rd, right? Because that's what you. are
Oh,
you-
that's gonna, that might change, maybe.
We have an extra Thursday in September.
I think with your
A couple of meetings that may have to change if,
I think with your budget, why don't we move our next meeting to be the 7th, and that be when the surveys are due? That gives them a month.
Do we want to do before that so that we can collate something, so that
Because if we have hard copies, we're gonna
That's a
have
good
to.
question.
I mean, because
I
if we
can,
just.
I can have the number part done, but I won't have the verbiage, we won't have the verbiage
But the
collated.
numbers would help.
The numbers would be done by then, but the verbiage would not be collated by
What if we
then.
have?
I mean, I can help on the
by
verbiage or
30th,
whatever.
And then we'd have a whole week to, but that's
Yeah.
only.
You're saying if
That's
people
only
write an
22
answer?
days.
Yeah,
3 weeks.
if they
Three
go into more
weeks.
detail, yeah.
That's not a lot of time. It's not.
Well, the people who are gonna wanna take the survey are gonna take it as soon as they can.
As soon as they see it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right, adding a few weeks is not
No.
gonna get that much more participation.
Yeah.
Can you make a note to maybe mention it at the council and commissioner meetings
Mhm.
to the
Yeah.
public?
So what are we thinking on run time? 4 weeks or 3 weeks or?
It depends on when you want
Yeah, I mean, if
to
we did-
report back. Meeting on October 7th, we would need to do 3 weeks to get, drag a week to get numbers together.
I can do the
I think
numbers in a
that's
day, it's really,
probably-
it's the verbiage, I'm gonna need multiple people's help with.
Yeah.
So
Since
when
you
are
gotta
you
read
saying
it.
it's gonna be live
You gotta
on
read it, you gotta.
We have it live, we have to have them bid.
Could we do a work session on the 7th and then have our meeting,
Well,
a
we-
regular meeting on the 21st or whatever it is?
That's a good idea.
It's 3 weeks, I think 3 weeks is fine for the.
Yeah, but I'm saying, once we have it, then we have our work session either on the 7th or the 30th, whichever one you want. That 4 weeks if we do it on the 7th, do a work session, right?
Mhm.
That lets all of us go through the verbiage and work on it together.
Mhm.
And then on the 21st, we have a regular meeting that discuss the actual
Mhm.
outcome of it. Is that cool?
Sure.
Sounds like
I mean, it's gonna be a boring work session for the public, because we're literally gonna be kind of collating stuff, but it's a work session.
Okay, so when are we thinking of, when's the launch date? We wanna,
That would be the 8th.
so
September
September
8th.
8th, we want it to go live.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna, our last date to answer is gonna be 3 weeks after that?
4 weeks.
The 29th?
The 6th.
What do we wanna do, 3 weeks or 4 weeks?
3 weeks, I think.
Okay, so the 29th will be the
That's
last
gonna give us
day.
a little bit of time to.
So now my question, let's go back. People that don't want to fill out a survey but wanted to talk to someone. When do we do that for? Is that something we do on like the 6th, after the surveys are submitted? I'm just asking because, you know, you brought it up. It was a good idea, I thought.
So,
Well, what if we have the surveys due the 29th, and then we meet on the 30th, which is a Thursday, which is when we have been meeting,
Yeah,
and that's when people can come talk, and
sure, yeah.
you can kind of get people together who are willing to go through the verbiage and kind of collate that.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea, because then, with that dual purpose, really the main reason that we can't meet not in public is because me and Tom, okay?
Mhm.
But really, the collating of the verbiage does not have to really be a meeting in public, because you're just really going through, I mean, whether they're just gonna watch you read papers and put stuff together, I mean.
Right.
So if 4 of you went off and did that, and 4 of us went off and was just sitting there waiting for
Listening.
people to come to us and talk to us, then that dual purpose is taken care of.
Right.
Is that okay? That
Yeah,
make sense?
and then you and Tom just split up.
We're
on
split,
that.
we're in different groups, and then it's
Mhm.
no open door law problem at that point.
Right.
okay, so,
Another subcommittee.
so,
Subcommittee.
we'll have the online survey go live on September 8th.
Okay?
It'll be due by September 29th.
Correct.
Okay,
The 30th, we will have a listening session.
yes.
Half of us will,
Collating listening
some of us
session.
maybe can be here and some of us can be doing. all
Okay, on
other
the
stuff.
30th is your last day of budget meetings. So what time are you planning this, and hopefully we're done with budgets? Just to
That's
let
why I
you
was
know
going to
that.
the 7th.
I'll just be a part of that one. Can I be,
Just to
Charlie and
let
I
you
can be
know.
a part of the,
I know.
listening, or the people going through the.
We'll split it right here.
Go.
Us 4 be the listening group. Is that all right?
That's fine with me.
We could probably go in after 4 o'clock on that 30th.
Yeah, because hopefully we won't need the whole 3 days.
Hopefully not. We should.
Why don't we plan on 4 o'clock on the 30th? Does that work for you?
Works for me.
Sure.
It works for me. My only problem with that is people working and
Well,
want to come and talk. Do they have time?
Could we
to
go
come?
4 to 6?
That works, people might have time then. I just don't want to cut out.
Oh, I don't,
work till
I don't
five.
care to sit, I don't care to sit there
Yeah.
2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
I don't, that's no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You bring the pizza, I'll bring the chocolate.
You got
You
it.
got it.
I want the chocolate.
And we'll bring you pizza and chocolate too, collators.
Okay, I need
Dr.
somebody
Pepper.
to get with me soon and let me kind of know what you envision this page to look like.
Okay.
Luke's got you covered.
Yeah, I-
And
Great.
what you want that called.
Yeah.
Okay.
What that part of that web
Sure.
address would want.
Okay, so on the 30th, we'll have listening session from
4 to 6.
4 to 6.
And the coalition.
And us four will be listening.
Yep.
And then
Those four will be.
at 3.
Or 3, collating. And I have no problem doing some pre-collation for you when I start getting surveys in. I mean, that's no problem too.
And I guess we're gonna do that, we would have the listening session here.
That's up to you. It'd be nice if these are people that don't want to fill out a survey, they don't want to be like in public.
Right.
It'd be nice if there was like separate places for us to like talk to them 2-on-1 or something like that maybe. You see what I'm saying? Instead of somebody having to come to the mic.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, we could use this room and split up.
You see, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people that want to do it in private. They, they don't want to.
Right.
They don't want to be public, which I understand that.
And
Trust
if
me,
it-
I completely understand that.
If it comes down to it, I have a meeting room in my office, and I would say Teresa having this table back here might be able to.
That would work. That would work.
Do that too.
Yeah, they can come in here and sit, and then we can call them into the different rooms or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But this part of it, we really need to publicize,
Yes.
meeting with the public
Yeah.
on this page. We
Yeah.
need to make sure we get it in the paper and on.
Out there on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go back over those
Yes,
dates.
let's,
Yes.
I have down September the 8th, the survey goes live, and then ends on, or is due on September 29th.
Yes.
September the 30th, we're meeting at 4 o'clock,
Correct.
Yes.
right?
I'll be late.
That's okay.
Okay, and that's gonna be the collating and listening to the group.
Yes.
Then, are we still doing October the 7th? You mentioned for a work session?
I don't really think.
No,
We don't need
no,
that.
the 30th would be the work session. That's the kind of thing.
Okay, so then are we down to October 21st?
Regular meeting. Right.
And when's your regular meeting in September?
It should be after the 23rd,
I mean,
on the
We,
23rd.
we
can
won't even
skip
need
it.
to meet, will we?
We could skip it.
Wow,
Okay.
we don't need to meet.
Let's just,
Skip it.
Yeah.
we will
Let
not
the-
meet on the 23rd.
So then, from the 30th, then we go to October 21st for your regular
Meeting.
ARP meeting,
And everyone will
right?
have, we should have all the results together and,
Time to consume it and all that kind of
Okay.
stuff.
does that work? Okay.
good.
Question, if, once we get these results, do we want to do an infographic or something?
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yes. Yes.
I've got a template and I could slap numbers in there pretty quickly.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Does that work for everyone?
Yep.
The last thing is the email address. I don't know, I put that on there just because I didn't know.
It's done.
And everything's, because I know, we were wondering about if everyone gets the emails, how do we track who
Yes.
Yeah.
responds? And
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's thought of,
There needs to be a single point of contact is what there needs to be, even if it's that, so can I go through a scenario?
Sure.
An email comes in, I know the answer, right? And I have time to formulate that answer and write it.
Mhm.
I don't send that answer. I send that to what we call the single point of contact. That person then sends it or reads it. Do you know what I'm saying? That way they know that there's consistency between the answers. The way I write something, the way Tara writes something, the way you write something, that single point of contact has the chance to make it all common and consistent. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and say, hey, we're not saying the same thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that single point of contact gets 3 answers and they're totally different. and
Right.
We have to hash out what the answer really is.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
But there needs to be a single point of contact that we use for that. Nose goes. Because I'm not really a good writer.
Yes, they are. I don't think they know what we're
What,
doing.
the email address, are we going to, do we have an extra email address for the county?
Do you not have, yeah, we set this up already.
Yeah, it's a group address.
Okay.
Now, the thing is that when the single point of contact responds, it will be their address. That's the other part of the.
You can just put something in like the signature of their email, or maybe we could do an automated response from the county email saying that they'll be getting
We can
an
do
email
that.
from,
Yeah.
you won't be getting an email from this account, it'll be this account.
Yes, you can do that, yes.
That might be
Yes.
the way to go about that, maybe.
The single point of contact who is. will be
Yeah.
sending
And do
the
we,
email.
do we want to set, like, we have so many hours, half a day, 12, one day to get back to them or something, or what do you want to?
That probably wouldn't be
It's not a bad idea.
Bad idea.
But I would give at least,
I wouldn't give one day. You gotta give more than
yeah,
that.
I'm
Yeah, that's
thinking
what I'm saying, it would
72.
be,
I was thinking like if you did 3 days, because, I mean, 3 days is not
just
that
don't know what
unheard of.
Yeah.
No.
How much, that's not very long, yeah, flooded.
So, yeah, 72 hours.
72.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
fast, guys, I'm just gonna tell
Really
you.
fast.
We all have free time, don't we?
Sometimes you just don't get you don't know the answer.
Well, we'll just say that we don't know the answer.
Okay.
Give us more time.
Okay.
We're learning.
That counts to another 72.
Yeah, that's another 72 hours.
Reset the clock, okay.
That's fine. I don't mind to be the single point of contact.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
That's not a motion.
All in favor? All in favor?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
That does not mean he does all the work though, guys.
No.
We need
I
to
know.
feed him. We need to feed
Feed
him.
'em, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How are we doing, chief?
Let's do the agenda, so
Good.
we got a lot to do.
Yes.
I think we've got plenty to do, so we can adjourn.
Yeah, all right. We want to have a formal motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. I guess I gotta be here at 8 till